Every bottle of fabric softener in your home works the same way. It coats your clothes in a thin film of petroleum-derived chemicals. That film sits against your skin all day, against your children's skin all night. The global fabric softener industry generates $19 billion a year selling you that film. Meanwhile, a wild plant growing in roadside ditches across 30 countries produces a natural gel that does the same thing for free. And at the end of this video, you will know exactly which plant it is, how to grow it, and how to use it to replace every bottle of softener you will ever buy. Hi, I am Harry, and this is Garden Explained with Harry. Walk into the laundry aisle of any grocery store in North America. Count the bottles. Downy, Snuggle, Gain, Bounce. The labels promise freshness. They promise softness. They promise comfort. What they do not tell you is what softness actually means in their language. Softness means a chemical coating. Every cap of liquid softener you pour into the wash deposits a layer of compounds called quaternary ammonium salts onto every fiber of every garment in the load. These are not plant extracts. These are not natural oils. These are synthetic surfactants derived from petrochemicals. The same family of industrial chemicals used in disinfectants and pool cleaners. That fresh feeling when you pull a towel from the dryer is not the cotton becoming softer. It is a wax-like residue sitting on top of the cotton. Your skin does not touch the fabric. Your skin touches the chemical layer between you and the fabric. Now consider what happens during the drying cycle. Heat activates the volatile compounds in that chemical layer. Researchers have identified more than 25 volatile organic compounds released from scented laundry products during normal household drying. Some of those compounds are classified as carcinogenic. They vent through your dryer exhaust into the air around your home. They settle on surfaces. They linger in closed rooms where children sleep. The rinse water tells another story. Quaternary ammonium compounds survive standard wastewater treatment. They pass through filtration systems designed for biological waste and enter rivers, lakes, and groundwater. They are toxic to aquatic organisms at low concentrations. Every load of softened laundry sends a dose of persistent synthetic chemicals into the water system that supplies your neighbors downstream. Here's the part that should bother you the most. Before 1960, commercial fabric softener did not exist. Not a single bottle sat on a single shelf in any store in any country on Earth. American families washed their clothes for 300 years before Procter & Gamble told them their towels were not soft enough. Your grandmother dried her sheets on a clothesline and nobody complained about how they felt. The entire product category was invented in a corporate laboratory and sold through television advertising to a generation of consumers who had never once asked for it. So what did people use before 1960? What did they use before the chemical coating? The answer is older than anyone expects, and it grows in places most people drive past without a second look. In ancient Egypt, around 1500 years before the Common Era, physicians compiled a medical text documenting hundreds of plant preparations. One plant appeared across multiple entries. Its root, when simmered in water, produced a thick, slippery gel that could coat surfaces, soothe skin, reduce inflammation, and protect tissue. Egyptian healers used it as medicine. Egyptian households used it in food preparation, and Egyptian textile workers used it to treat linen. 500 years later in Greece, a physician named Dioscorides prescribed the same root for dozens of conditions. He documented the gel-forming property as the root's defining characteristic. In Rome, Pliny the Elder wrote about it. Across the Mediterranean, this single plant appeared in medical texts, domestic guides, and trade records spanning 2,000 years. The root behaves unlike almost any other plant material. Drop a piece of dried root into warm water and wait. Within minutes, the water begins to thicken. A clear gel forms. It feels slippery between your fingers. It coats anything it touches with a smooth protective layer. This is not starch. This is not wax. This is mucilage. Long-chain sugar molecules packed so densely in the root tissue that they transform plain water into a viscous coating solution. The plant is marshmallow, Althea officinalis, the same plant that gave its name to the candy. Except the candy abandoned the root more than a century ago because the gel could not be mass-produced cheaply enough for industrial confectionery. They replaced it with gelatin and cornstarch, a cheaper substitute that could be manufactured at scale. The same pattern that would repeat across every industry this root once served. In villages across England, France, and Germany, washerwomen used marshmallow root water as a final rinse for centuries. They simmered the chopped root, strained the liquid, and added it to the rinse basin. The mucilage coated the fibers of linen and wool. Fabric came out softer. It draped better. It resisted the stiffness that hard water and lye soap left behind. No factory, no brand name. No repeat purchase, just a root dug from the marshy ground behind the house. The name itself tells you where to find it. Marshmallow. It grows in marshes. It grows where water collects in low spots along riverbanks and drainage channels. It grows in the exact places that modern development treats as waste ground. The ditches alongside country roads. The wet margins of farmers' fields. The boggy edges of ponds that nobody maintains. This is where the plant lives. This is where it has always lived. And in most of the northern hemisphere, it is still there right now. Everything this root did for centuries disappeared in a single decade. In 1960, Procter & Gamble introduced Downy liquid fabric softener to the American market. Before that year, the product category did not exist. No consumer had written a letter asking for it. No housewife had complained to a retailer about the absence of it. The company created the product first. Then they created the need. Television commercials showed women touching towels with expressions of mild disappointment. The message was clear. Your laundry is not soft enough. You have a problem you did not know about. Buy this bottle to fix it. Within a decade, fabric softener became a household staple. Within 2 decades, it became an assumption. Within 3 decades, most Americans could not imagine washing clothes without it. A manufactured desire had become a cultural norm. Now consider the economics of what was displaced. A marshmallow root in a backyard costs nothing after the first planting. It is a perennial. It returns every spring without replanting. It spreads by rhizome and self-seeding. 1 root becomes 5 roots in 2 years and 20 roots in 5 years. There is no repeat purchase. There is no brand loyalty to capture. There is no shelf space to rent. There is no advertising budget to justify. Every characteristic that makes this plant useful to a household makes it invisible to a corporation. A plant that solves a problem for free cannot generate quarterly revenue. A root that multiplies in the ground cannot support a supply chain. A gel that forms in a kitchen pot cannot be patented, trademarked, or protected by intellectual property law. The economics are simple. No company will ever spend money teaching consumers about a free alternative to a product that generates $19 billion in annual global revenue. This is not conspiracy. This is the operating logic of consumer goods markets. Companies fund awareness of products that produce revenue. They do not fund awareness of plants that eliminate revenue. The mechanism is identical across industries. Soap plants replaced by synthetic detergents. Herbal remedies replaced by pharmaceutical equivalents. traditional textile treatments replaced by chemical formulations in plastic bottles. The research gap follows the same pattern. Search any scientific database for studies on commercial fabric softener compounds. You will find thousands. Efficacy studies, safety assessments, formulation patents, fragrance optimization research. Now search for studies on plant mucilage as a textile softening agent. You will find almost nothing. Not because it does not work, because no one with research funding had a financial reason to prove that it does. The funding follows the patents. Marshmallow root cannot be patented. A cold water infusion cannot be protected. A perennial plant that spreads on its own cannot generate licensing revenue. So the research was never commissioned. The knowledge simply stopped being transmitted because no commercial entity benefited from transmitting it. $19 billion a year. That is what the world spends on a chemical film that a ditch weed performs for free. But the science never disappeared. Modern plant chemistry explains exactly why this root works, and the explanation makes the industrial displacement even harder to accept. Marshmallow root contains between 25 and 35% mucilage by dry weight. That is an extraordinarily high concentration. Most plants that produce mucilage contain 5 to 15%. Marshmallow is the highest mucilage producer among common temperate plants. The root is essentially a storage organ packed with long-chain sugar molecules waiting to be activated by water. When you simmer the chopped root, those sugar molecules release into the water and form a hydrocolloid gel. This gel coats surfaces on contact. It fills the tiny gaps between individual fibers in a piece of fabric. It reduces friction. And friction is the entire mechanism behind fabric stiffness. Stiff fabric is fabric whose fibers catch and drag against each other. Soft fabric is fabric whose fibers slide freely. The mucilage coating allows that sliding. That is all softness is. Fibers that move without resistance. This is exactly what commercial fabric softeners do. The difference is the coating material. Commercial softeners use petroleum-derived quaternary ammonium compounds. Marshmallow root uses plant-derived polysaccharides. One persists in waterways and triggers allergic reactions. The other breaks down in soil within days and has been used on human skin for 3,000 years. Static cling follows the same principle. Static builds when dry fibers rub together and accumulate electric charge. The mucilage coating prevents the direct fiber-to-fiber contact that generates that charge. Same result as a dryer sheet. No synthetic fragrance. No chemical residue left behind. No volatile compounds venting through your dryer into the air your family breathes. 35% mucilage concentration in a root that grows wild in a drainage ditch. Nature solved this problem before any civilization had a word for laundry. You can grow this plant yourself, and once you do, you will never buy fabric softener again. Marshmallow thrives in USD, a hardiness zones 3 through 9. That covers nearly the entire continental United States, most of Western Europe, and equivalent climates across the temperate world. The plant tolerates wet soil. It tolerates clay. It tolerates poor drainage. It actually prefers the conditions that kill most garden plants. If you have a low spot in your yard where water pools after rain, that is your marshmallow bed. Plant seeds directly in the ground in spring after the last frost. Press them gently into the surface of the soil. Do not cover them. Marshmallow seeds need light to germinate. Space them 18 to 24 inches apart. Water consistently during the first growing season while the root system establishes. After year 1, the plant manages itself. It draws water from the subsoil and tolerates drought conditions that would stress most perennials. This is a perennial. You plant it once. It returns every spring for years. The root system expands annually, growing deeper and wider. By year 3, a small patch of marshmallow plants produces enough root material to supply an entire household's fabric softener needs for a full year. Allow some flower stalks to mature and drop seed in late summer. The patch spreads on its own. You do not replant. You do not reseed. You do not purchase anything ever again. Harvest the roots in autumn of the second year or later. The first year builds root mass. You leave it alone. From the second autumn onward, the mucilage concentration peaks after the plant stores energy for winter. Wait until the above-ground growth dies back. Then dig. The tap roots reach deep, sometimes 2 feet in mature plants. Clean the roots. Slice them into small pieces. Dry them thoroughly in a warm area with good airflow. The preparation takes less than 30 minutes. Simmer roughly 1 ounce of dried root in 1 quart of water over gentle heat. Do not boil hard. A low simmer for 20 to 30 minutes. You will see the water thicken. It will develop a slightly viscous quality, almost like a very thin syrup. Strain out the root pieces. The liquid that remains is your fabric softener. Pour approximately half a cup of the strained, diluted liquid into the rinse basin for hand-washed items, or use it occasionally in modern machines followed by a clean cycle. Because plant mucilage consists of complex polysaccharides, natural sugars, it is vital to dry your clothes thoroughly, preferably in direct sunlight, to prevent environmental moisture from souring the organic residue. Static reduced. No chemical smell, no synthetic film, no petroleum residue sitting against skin. Store the liquid in a sealed jar in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks, or freeze it in ice cube trays for months of supply from a single batch. Dried marshmallow root keeps for years in a cool, dry space. The mucilage reactivates completely every time you simmer it, no matter how long the root has been sitting in storage. 1 established marshmallow plant produces enough root for dozens of loads. The cost after the first packet of seeds is $0. The average American household spends $40 to $60 a year on fabric softener. Over a decade, that is $500. Over a lifetime, it is thousands. Replaced entirely by a plant that grows in a ditch and comes back every spring without being asked. The fabric softener aisle in your grocery store stretches 15 feet long. Plastic bottles in rows. Petroleum compounds in every one. $19 billion flowing through cash registers worldwide every year for a chemical film that coats clothing, contaminates waterways, and triggers skin reactions in millions of people. And in the ditch behind your house, a marshmallow root sits in wet ground doing what it has done for 3,000 years. Producing mucilage, waiting for water, ready to coat fibers with a gentle gel that breaks down harmlessly in soil and exhibits an incredibly low incidence of skin reactivity compared to industrial fragrances. The industry did not suppress this plant. They did not need to. They just built a $19 billion market where the plant used to be and waited for 3 generations to forget it was ever there. The plant did not forget. It kept growing. It keeps growing. It will still be there in the ditch long after the last bottle of Downy sits empty in a landfill.